Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our monthly product showcase. We are so glad that you're here. My name is Millie Hazekovic, and I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager here at CharityEngine. I am joined today by my colleague, Michaela. You won't see Michaela, but she is in the chat, and she'll be active throughout our session today, helping to answer some of your questions. I'll also be taking questions live. If you are new to our product showcases, welcome. This series is designed specifically to highlight new features and enhancements that are shaped by your feedback. In fact, over 90% of our product improvements and enhancements come directly from clients like you, which is something we're really proud of. So before we dive in today, just a few housekeeping notes. As usual, your camera and microphone are off. You don't have to worry about those. Feel free to drop questions into our chat. I will pause throughout our presentation today to answer some of them. And as I said, Michaela will be assisting as well. And yes, you will receive a recording of today's session right after today's webinar. All right, with that out of the way, let's jump in. Here is our agenda for today. We'll be looking at some new enhancements around volunteer time management. You can now check volunteers in and out using a QR code to automatically track hours and simplify reporting process for the volunteer time. We also have a number of enhancements to our event application. You can now easily track guests and ensure every attendee becomes part of your stewardship effort with some of the form enhancements that we've made to our event form specifically. And we'll also give you a little bit of a preview to our new event checkout. This feature is, I would say, 90%, 95% out. There's one more item that's related to the checkout experience that's pending release. We'll see that in a couple of days here, but we'll be able to demo it for you so you get to see the enhancements. It's going to make that post-event payment checkout process faster. And then finally, we're also excited to announce that CharityEngine now has single sign-on with Microsoft. This is something that our clients have been asking about for a while. If your organization is using Microsoft, so if you're in Outlook and Teams, you can now enjoy a seamless login experience by signing into your CharityEngine account with your Microsoft credentials. This feature is part of our enterprise package, and if this is something that you are interested in for your organization, you can certainly contact support about enabling and getting some more information about it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to go right into the app. All right. There we go. And I believe you guys are seeing my screen, which is great. So let's get started with our volunteer application. The first feature that I'll show you today is related to volunteer shift check-in and check-out. So if we are in our home screen, our welcome screen, our volunteers functionality lives under events. So I'm going to go under events and volunteers. I have three options here. I can search and manage my volunteers. I can create and manage my volunteer posts. These are my volunteer opportunities. I can also organize these volunteer posts in post types. I'm going to go ahead and go to my search and manage so I can see all of my volunteers. So the enhancement that we've created is that you can now scan a volunteer's QR code from the volunteer listing screen, which is this screen, using like an iPad, or maybe it's even your computer camera, to quickly access their registration. And what that will allow you to do is not only pull them up quickly, but you can now with a single click, start and end their shift, allowing you to record their volunteered hours automatically. So let's take a look at how that looks. Here's an example here. So it looks like I've already logged some of these folks earlier, but I'm going to scroll down and go to some folks that are not, whose shift has not started. So I'm going to use this new filter, shift started no, and I'm going to apply. All right, so it looks like I have, this is me. I am a volunteer for a call center. So the idea here is that when they come in and they present this QR code for you, you can scan it on an iPad, and what ultimately the result for you, what that will feel in the UI, it will actually simply populate that ID right here for you so that their name comes up quickly. Once you're on that screen, you can start their shift. So this is that new functionality that we introduced. When you click that, you will see today's date and today's time. You can certainly edit that if you wanted to start them later, or maybe perhaps they've started earlier and you're just getting around to checking them in right now. You can certainly move the time backwards and you can go ahead and complete. So now they are checked in. You can see if I use this shift started, yes, I'm going to see myself because my shift has started. I can also see this is no longer says check-in, it says today. Assuming this person has completed their shift, they've done their volunteering for the day, they're ready to leave, they can easily check out with you when they come to the desk. You can either click today or right with this hover right over here with the 3 dots, you can end shift. If I end shift, similarly, I will see, I can put in the time. And in this case, since I just checked myself in a moment ago, I'm going to go ahead and move the time so that we show more than a few minutes of volunteer time. So let me just move this to, let's say, 7 o'clock p.m. I'm going to go ahead and complete. All right, so let me just disable this filter. I want to be able to see myself. There we go. So you can see now that I've ended that shift. My hours are displayed. I volunteered, in this case, for 5 hours and 1 minute. So again, super easy to check folks in and be able to record their time as opposed to having to do that later. By checking folks in and out during the volunteering event, you're able to record that time simply based on when you click the check-in and check-out button. All right, and just a couple of notes regarding the volunteer module. If you are, a lot of times what we hear from our client organizations, particularly those that are managing lots of volunteers, volunteer reporting is a big consideration. So if you are an organization that needs to generate, let's say, a monthly report of all the hours volunteered, you can certainly do that several ways. One way that I like to do it, it's pretty easy, is by using my time, projects and time functionality that's right under people. So if I go to people, projects and time, and I go to track time, here is a screen where I can see all of the time that's tracked in the system. I can simply apply some filters to get the desired report that I want. So here we go. I can see, for example, in this case, if I say I want all of the volunteer time from the beginning of this month, pardon me, to the end of this month, and I can certainly specify my type and so on. If I apply, I can see anybody who's volunteered during that time period. Okay. One other quick note related to volunteers that I wanted to highlight. This is a feature that was released about a month ago that we didn't have a chance to highlight in the last showcase, but it is something that was requested by our clients. It's the ability to auto-populate volunteer posts and assignments when you're creating a volunteer post with an event. So what I mean by that is, let's say you are managing an event. So I'm going to go under my events menu item, and I'm going to select events, search and manage. This is where I can see all of my events. So let's assume I am managing a particular event here. And as you know, within each event, there is a volunteer tab where you can see all of the volunteers that are associated with that particular event. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and manage my CharityEngine end of year gala. In this particular event, you can see I have my dates here. I have my location. I'm going to put in CharityEngine office, and you can see my date for the event is the end of the year, 12/26, starts at 6 p.m., ends at 11. When you are creating a new volunteer and you want to associate this volunteer with this event, you can easily do that right from the volunteer tab. And so if I create a new post, new opportunity for volunteering at this event, the enhancement that we created is ensuring that the timing of the event carries to this post, as well as the event name. So it just makes it a little more easier so that you don't have to do double entry when it comes to dates and time if you're already within a particular event. This particular feature was directly inspired by some of the feedback we received from our clients, so I wanted to highlight it for you all. All right, so I'm going to take a quick moment just to see if there's any questions related to our volunteer enhancements before I move on to our next feature. Looks like we did have a question about the recording. Yes, we are recording this. You will receive that recording right after today's webinar. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to some of the features that we released related to events, not just volunteers. So event registrants can now add guests during the ticket purchase, and each guest will be automatically mapped to your CRM. As you all know, for those of you that use our events module, we've always had the ability to allow registrants to provide guest names through the constituent portal. A lot of times when you're organizing a gala, and let's say you have some folks who are buying a table, they may not know all the folks that they're bringing with them right out of the gate, in which case having that donor portal link allows them to add those names later. But in certain situations, you are in a position where you know that your registrants will know their guest names right out of the gate. They may be bringing their family members, for example, in which case they know who they are. They can easily provide them on the front end of that registration form experience. So now we've created a button that makes that really easy to do. So let me show you what that looks like. So we're going to go ahead and look at one of our forms. So I'm going to go ahead and find an event form, which is the best way to demo this feature. And if you're new to CharityEngine, all of our forms live in the online menu option. If I'm under online, web forms, search and manage will get me to this screen where I can see all of my forms. All right, so I'm going to pick an existing form. If you are creating a new form, as you know, it's a simple plus sign. You can select the type of form you're creating. In this case, I have an event form here. I'm just going to open this form to see how it looks like. All right, so I have a very basic event form here. I did not apply clearly any styling to it or any background, but I did put in 2 tickets. I have a gold table ticket and I have a silver table ticket. Now, if I go ahead and look at this form, if I manage this form to see a little more information, I want to get a little bit more insight on these tickets together with you all. So if we go into the layout tab of our form, we can see, we can see right here where it says event ticket information. We can see if we click the pencil icon, we can get a little more information about these tickets. All right, so it looks like we have that gold table ticket. We have 15 that are available to be sold. And we have a silver table ticket that has, we have 10 of those. I can also manage tickets from here, which will allow me to see a little more information about those tickets as far as how many seats does each ticket get. So let me go ahead and see that. All right, so now I have a little more information. I can see here gold table can bring 3 guests, which is great, and then silver table can bring 2 guests. If I want to change this, I can certainly manage that here and adjust. The reason I want to highlight this is because it's related to that add guest feature that I'm going to show you in a moment. So gold table, 3 guests. All right, so let's go back to our form here. So if I'm signing up for this event, I say I want my gold table here. Now, because that ticket has those 3 guests, I am now prompted to enter them. I have the option to enter them. This is not required, but it allows your registrant to easily add their guest names. What's nice about this is that it's limited by the number of guests associated with this ticket. So for example, in this gold ticket table, I cannot add more than 3 because as we saw, gold table has only 3 guests. Okay. Same thing here. If I was to add silver table, I can only add 2 because only 2 additional guests are associated with that ticket. All right, so in this case, I'll go ahead and just do this one registration so that we can see how it looks on the back end. So let's say I am registering for this event, and I will go ahead and just put in one guest name. I will put a friend that I'm bringing. And email. Whoops. All right. Now, I, in this case, only know the name of one person I'm bringing. I'm not ready to provide the other 2 because I'm not sure yet. So, and that's completely fine. You can do one or all. It's no problem. And regardless of even if you put one, you're still going to be able to manage those tickets in the constituent portal later to add those additional names if you don't know them if your registrant does not know them out of the box. Out of the gate. Here looks good. I'm just going to change here to my name as I am the registrant here and change it to my address. All right. This looks good. I am going to go and put my test credit card here so that we can see that registration go through, and we'll be done. All right, so that's fine. I see I'll put in John Smith here as one of my guests. I can see I'm registered. All looks good here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and purchase my ticket. All right, so I see here my success page. I can click manage my tickets, in which case, actually I've bought a bunch before, but you can certainly add people's names here if you didn't do it on the front end. But let's go ahead and take a look at how those registrations came through here in our registrations listing screen. So if we are going under events, again, we want to go events, registrations. This is where you can see anytime somebody completes an event registration form. And I'm going to disable these filters. All right, so you can see here, I bought that silver table just now, okay? I can see that I am the main registrant because I am the host. And I can also see that my guests, my 2 guests are here. And because I did not complete the names of those 2 additional guest seats, these folks' name, the 2 additional guests are not listed. Their names are not provided. So the event is certainly recording the platform is recording the registration, even if the name is not provided. And so what this allows us to do is then when your registrant is ready to provide those names in the constituent portal, these names will populate. Now, I was expecting to see John Smith. There he is. So he is, you can see my guest and I am the host. So his name did come through. If he was somebody that did not exist in our CRM prior, a new record would be created. So I believe that's what kind of happened in this case. We can go ahead and click on him just to see that yes, this is a new record that was created as a result of somebody putting him in as a guest on a registration. Yep. And you can see this was the CE Foundation Gala that I just registered for. You can see I'm the host and he is part of a gold table ticket registration. All right. So that is our add guest feature that you can now do on the front end of the form, just to provide you with a bit more options for your registrants when they're providing guest information. You can now allow them to do that on the front end or on the back end, as we've always had through the constituent portal. I'm just going to take a moment here to see if we have any questions. And I see we have some questions around event registrations. Correct, yes. So the add guest feature is completely optional. You do not have to, that is not a requirement. Your guests do not have to provide, or pardon me, your registrants do not have to provide their guest information. This was a feature that was directly in response to clients who said, hey, we're in a situation where we have registrants who already know who they're bringing, and we would love for them to just be able to do that in one shot on the front end of the form, as opposed to having for them to go to the constituent portal later. Again, this is very much case by case. If you're doing galas, a lot of times people do not know who they're bringing at the moment of the registration, in which case that constituent portal route makes a lot more sense. So you really have to kind of step back and analyze what's best for your event and whether or not your registrant knows who they're bringing at the time of the registration, and that you can decide from there. All right, let's see. We have a question about, is it possible to send mass SMS messages to people that are registered, checked in for a specific event through CharityEngine platform? Yes, there is, and we can take a look at that and in a moment. Absolutely, and I see Michaela has already responded. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our event checkout process. This is the feature that I mentioned earlier. It allows you to streamline your event checkout process, and this is specifically designed for events where you may be collecting payments at the departure. So when somebody is getting ready to leave an event, maybe they've got some drink tickets, maybe they've got an item that they've purchased or want to purchase, and so you can essentially check them out, collect a payment. And so what's really great about this feature is that at the check-in process for the event, you can securely collect and store the attendees' preferred payment method. And then when the event ends, you can check them out with a single click with whatever credit card is on file. So let me show you how that looks like. If we are, again, our events module, we're going to go ahead and go to events, registrations. And this is in terms of checking in and checking out. This works very much similar. It's very similar to our volunteer check-in and checkout process. So if you are scanning somebody in, you essentially, the experience would be that you scan them in via iPad, what that does, their QR code will populate a number here, and they will surface as the only choice based on that number ID. And let's take a look at here. In this case, I am, let's assume I'm the attendee. I'm the person who's checking out. I have zero balance, but let's just together assume that I got maybe a few items during the event, and now I do have a balance. So let me just go ahead and add that. So if you are at the event checkout table, you would go ahead into that registration. Or actually, pardon me, let me back up. I just wanted to show you the ability to collect somebody's payment information at the check-in. So here we go. I'm going to grab this ID and just assume that I'm scanning somebody in. There we go. All right. So if I'm listed as pending, that means I'm not checked out, I'm not checked in. So this person has not attended an event. I can click on this pending to check them in, or you can always hover over the three dots when in doubt and go ahead and check someone in. When I do that, I will see a prompt to check someone in and be able to see that I have a credit card on file for this person. Now, as you guys know, because this is me and I completed that registration form a moment ago, you can see my credit card ending in 111 is here. You can always use this moment to confirm with the person and say, you know, we have your credit card on file ending with 111. Is this the credit card you want to use? Yes or no. If they say nope, that's not what I want to use, you can certainly add the new credit card on file and have it be handy for when they're ready to check out. So that's, I'm not going to assume here that I'm going to go ahead and keep the same credit card. So I'm going to go ahead and check in. All right. So let's create a balance together so that I can check myself out in this case as an example. So if I go ahead and manage my registrations or registration, I can add some merchandise as a way to create a balance here. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Currently, I'm seeing a question, can the prompt be defaulted to no? Currently, no. It is going to be defaulted to yes if there is a credit card on file. If the credit card is not on file, then it will be default to no. But if they've used a credit card and they've got their credit card, if they got their event online, if they're registered for an event online, most likely you're going to have that credit card number displaying. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go to merchandise. I'm going to add an item here. So let's say maybe they bought some stuff, maybe they got some drink tickets, maybe they got a t-shirt or a number of items that you raffle tickets perhaps cost something, so you can do that. So let's say we have $50 and maybe this is a raffle ticket, and I'm going to go ahead and save. All right, so this looks good. I'm going to go back. Just want to make sure that I can show you the balance is now $50. All right, so we have that recorded. It's $50. If I'm ready to check this person out, I don't have to even go to that registration listing screen. I can actually just do it from here. So if I can, and I have the ability to either not collect payment at this time, pay now, or pay online. Pay online would allow me to send them a link where they can complete that payment later. Pay now, I can collect payment using that credit card number on file. And this is what I was mentioning earlier. Over the weekend, we are releasing final piece of this enhancement, which will result in automatic population of that credit card number. So just assume that that's going to be ready early next week. But I did want to show you this feature since it's 95% already released. And so the idea here is the credit card number will populate. You can check them out. And in this case, let's just assume that I have something here for demo purposes. There we go. All right, and if we check out here, oh, it says your checkout is successful. You can send an email to thank your supporter. All right. Another point, if you so let's say you have some t-shirts that you bought at an event, or maybe other inventory where in the back end you're already using, say, CharityEngine's shopping cart to manage that inventory, and you want to be able to subtract the inventory volume in the system as you're giving it out at the event. You can certainly do that. And so I just want to highlight that as well. The way to do that is when you are creating that order. So in this case, $50. So we can create a new one just for demo here. All right. So if we just say, I'm going to put amount value rather. I'm just going to go ahead because I want to show you how you can add items. So if you wanted to add items from your inventory, you can go to the items tab. When you add new, it's going to allow you to select anything that you have pre-configured in the back. So in my case, I have water bottle, t-shirts, whatnot. And so I can do that. I can say, oh, Super Veggie t-shirt, save that. And then that will allow me to have that quantity of one be subtracted from my inventory stockpile because I've given it at the event. All right, so let's go back to our registration and see if we have a registration listing screen. And I'm going to pause for a minute to see if we've gotten any new questions. So we have a question from Brian Lee. When someone purchases a ticket, could CharityEngine send them a QR code via email? And when they arrive, they can present the code? Absolutely. So that is exactly what we were showing here. And so the way to set that up is you can actually, on that email, on that form that you're using for the event registration, let me just go back here and show you quickly where you would do that. All right. So if I'm in forms, so this is my event registration form, I'm going to go ahead and manage that form. Okay, so in the email tab is where you can create an autoresponder that will send a confirmation message to that registrant saying you have registered for an event. Thank you. Here is the QR code that you can use for the event check-in. And so this is that donor constituent autoresponder. I can select my email template. You can see I already have one here that's available. I can manage that, or I can create a new one. So I'm going to just go ahead and manage that to show you that token that you can use that sends them their unique QR code. All right, so I'm now in that template. If I go into the message content, right under tokens, if I type in QR code, you can see I have something called transaction event registration, admin guest check-in QR code URL. You can add that. What that will do is insert. And I think I've accidentally inserted it here, but let me just grab it here from here. I'm going to put it here at the bottom of the event. And so what that will do is in the email, right in this spot, it will present that registrant with a QR code they can use at the registration, at the time of registration. All right, I hope that's helpful, Brian. Let me take a look if we have any more questions. Brian Lee, I see you have another question. I'm just gonna, one moment. Can the email also be sent to all the guests that were entered by the ticket purchaser? Yes. Yes, absolutely. So it would be that same template. All right, so let me just go to a couple more questions. I think I missed a few earlier. I know Michaela is also assisting here. Thank you, Michaela. So I see I have a question from Christine. I see where I can toggle to no and check them in, but with our work, they don't owe the balance until the end of the weekend. In other words, whoops, sorry, that shifted. In other words, we don't necessarily want to deal with the money at the check-in, and I would want to accidentally charge the card they had put a deposit. I see. Well, in that case, you certainly don't have to do that, Christina. You don't have to collect payment at the time of the event. For you, I think that pay later option would be the best. So if you recall, if we are on that registration page, let's just go ahead and take one more quick look. And because the beauty of this is that you do have that option to not have to collect payment when you're checking them out. So let me see. I'm going to go ahead and just check someone in that has a little bit of a balance. Let me see if I can get one with a balance so that, or maybe we can just make a balance for one of them. Give me one moment. Let's see. John Coogan. All right, so, and by the way, Brian Lee, this is that QR code that gets inserted into that email template that we were discussing earlier. So if I'm just quickly going to create a balance so I can show you again how you can defer payment. All right, so let's say somebody spent $100. You can add comments here if you want to say this was for a raffle or whatever else. Save that. All right, so we're good here. Now let's say I'm checking them out, or just to make things easier, let's assume that we can do it from here, from this screen. We can also do it from the, whoops, not here, from this screen, right here. But we can also do it from the event registration listing screen. So if we're here, we can check them in, which we're going to do. All right, so now we're ready to, assuming that we can check them out. All right, sorry, that took me a little while to get to. So check out, if we're checking them out, so no payment. You can simply keep this in as no payment. You don't have to collect anything. Check them out, and you can always send them a payment link later after the weekend, which sounds like what may be best for you. All right, and let's see if we have any more questions here. It looks like we're caught up. All right, I will show you a couple more items that we've released, but I also just wanted to highlight the SSO feature that I mentioned at the beginning of our showcase. So you may have noticed when you log into CharityEngine, you now have the ability to sign on with Microsoft. So organizations who are using Microsoft Azure can now enable single sign-on to give users a more seamless access to CharityEngine by using their existing Microsoft credentials. And so this enhancement reduces, password fatigue. We're all juggling many passwords throughout the day. It also strengthens your security. I know for some organization that is the primary reason or driver behind wanting to use SSO. And so if your organization is interested in using SSO for your users, feel free to reach out to our support at charityengine.net. To figure out how you can enable that feature on your instance. All right. I do have a couple more smaller features. that I'd like to show you. One is related to our new action item token in Action Winners workflow. So if you are, since we're talking about events, I wanted to highlight this one. If you are managing actions and at the end of the action, you want to be able to initiate an email to all of your winners quickly and easily, thanking them and basically saying, you know, you have won such and such item. You can now do that in one easy workflow by using an action item token or merge field. So let me just show you how that looks like. If we are in the action winners listing screen, so I'm going to go again to events and I'm going to go actions. I have here winners, so I can click on winners and see who all my winners are. Now I'm assuming here that I am wanting to initiate an email for a specific event or for a specific action event. So I can select my action here. Let me see if I can select one that hopefully has some data. All right, so in this case, yes. So I've selected my action. Here are the folks who are my winners. I want to initiate an email to them that quickly thanks them for their participation and saying, you know, this is the item that you have won. So I can check them all, send message, and let's assume here I have you, subject line, you are a winner. We all love hearing that, so that should be a good subject line. All right, so the new token that we're talking about here is the item action winners item count, action winner item name. So you can now easily insert the item names into that message to be able to send a personalized note that indicates what item each winner has won. We do have a question regarding auctions. Are bidders texts when they're outbid? Can it be set up that way? Yes. You can, if you have SMS as part of your CharityEngine package. I know not all clients have that, but if you have that, you can certainly set it up in such a way where they can get texts in addition to emails. All right, one more quick update before we wrap up for today. This is related to actually our advocacy action log report enhancements. We've been getting some requests from a number of clients regarding the advocacy reports and being able to add a bit more fields when they're on that action log screen. So let's go take a look at that quickly together. If we are using our advocacy module, we are in the orange section of our platform. Let's go ahead and take a look at our action log. So if we are in this report, this is where we see all of our actions that have been taken by various constituents. The enhancement that we're talking about is now you have additional fields that are available in this report builder, including things like action name, contact name, representative name, custom target name, and so on. So you can select desired items and build the report exactly how you want, save and export. Just wanted to highlight that, as I know we have a couple of advocacy organizations who are attending today. All right, and those are all of our features for today. I hope you have found today's sessions helpful. If you have additional questions or you need support from our team, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll also be reviewing your questions after the event to see if we need to follow up with any additional clarifications for any questions that we may have not gotten to. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you next month. Have a wonderful day.